Hello, it's the third, and in this video I'll be going over this coding challenge from OCR Coding Challenges. Now it's technically meant for GCSE students, but we can just ignore that part, can't we? The task is fairly simple, but we'll be learning how to use these functions and methods along the way. String manipulation, Boolean, for loops, ever handling with index manipulation, calc encoding, as well as exploring 2 ways to solve this. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. We need to find common letters from both words, remove all instances of them, and convert it into its ASCII values and calculate the difference. The first part will be taking in 2 strings and converting them into lowercase, as the character sensitivity doesn't matter. For that, we will be using the .lower method, which makes every string into its lowercase form. If you're interested, there are other methods similar to this, such as .upper and .title. The second part, we will be using Boolean, which can be tricky to wrap your head around. In this code, that line is probably the most confusing part. The ampersand is different to AND, with AND being a logical operator which checks if both conditions are true, and the ampersand being a bitwise operator which compares if both are true. On the top diagram is the operation we're concerned with, where P is set to 0 unless A and B are set to 1. What we're trying to achieve on this line of code is find the common letters between the 2 strings. If 2 of the same letter is in both strings, it is added to the list, which I have called X. We'll use sets as sets to remove any duplicates. For example, if the word 1 was hello, it would have 2 L's, and if word 2 was table, it would have 1 L. This will cause an error, as you could have 2 conflicting answers. Going back to the table, if A and B were 1, or in this case, if A and B was L, it would return true. But then you would be checking for the second L in hello to see if it has a matching L, which it doesn't. In Python, you will get a type error for this reason. As such, we use sets to avoid this matter, as sets always remove duplicates. However, unlike lists and tuples, sets do not have a particular order in them. But this doesn't matter, as the ampersand just checks the presence of characters, not the order in which they appear. In the end, we will have all the letters that appear in both words, so we store them in a list. Next, we want to remove the letters from both words that match using the list of letters we have. One way we can do this is a basic for loop, where char is every character in the list. For the first letter in the list, we check it if the letter is in word 1 and in word 2. If it is, we replace it with an empty string, effectively removing it from the word. So if the letter L was in the list, it would be doing, if L is in word 1, and if L is in word 2, replace all instances of L with an empty string in word 1. Then replace all instances of L in word 2. Next, go to the next letter in the list and repeat the process until there is no more letters in the list. The other way still uses a for loop, but it also uses exception handling. I is a number that changes each iteration of the for loop, starting from 0 to whatever the length of X is. It uses that to iterate through the list and check if both words have those letters in them, and if they do, it replaces it at the correct index. The error handling is there, as if there are no letters that are duplicates, there would be an index error. To solve that, we just continue on with the code as there's nothing to replace. This method is more complex than the other one and takes ever so slightly longer, but you may understand this way better, and it is also important to understand there are different ways to approach a problem. So if you're stuck on one way, it's worth a shot using a different method. For the final bit, we're calculating the ASCII values of each word separately and finding the difference. For this, we are using the function ORD, which converts a character into its Unicode value. Remember that Unicode is a superset of ASCII, so the first 128 symbols of Unicode is the same as ASCII. We use the map function to apply the ORD function to every word into word 1 to be stored into a list. All values are added using sum and stored in the variable ASCII underscore word 1. The exact same process happens for word 2. Finally, whatever the value ASCII underscore word 1 has, minus whatever the value ASCII underscore word 2 has, the abs function means absolute, meaning the number being returned will always be 0 or above. Effectively, it will remove the negative sign if the number calculated was a negative number. Now I will show the entire code in action. This is the code in its entirety. These two words are just test cases. So the end result, I should not be in fish and Tina, and T should also not be in Tellers and Tina. As you can see, I and T are stored into a list. That's because of this. So it's checking if I and T are in these two words. And it does that through this for loop. Alternatively, I could have used this commented out section. And that gives that string. This is the ASCII values once it has been subtracted. This solution used the map function, but the function is far more versatile. Click here for a no-nonsense guide to the map function in Python.